We tried to tell you. We tried to tell you that this Indiana football team was legit, and Curt Cignetti is one of the best coaches in all of the sport.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That is right. It is a Locked On crossover to go across the conference, review the Big Ten, as we're going to focus on Penn State and Indiana in this Nittany Lions Hoosiers crossover, but focus on the Big Ten as a whole, as we do weekly. My name is Zach Seyko. I'm the host of Locked On Nittany Lions. He is Jacob Goins, the host of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. So, Jacob, we got a lot of housekeeping to keep up with, right? New coaches, Matt Campbell included, but Pat Fitzgerald at Michigan State, Bob Chesney at UCLA, plenty of Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon. Big Ten is well represented again in the CFP. Should Notre Dame join a conference? Should they be in the Big Ten? We got that later on in the show. We're going to talk about Matt Campbell and Penn State specifically. We got to start with the Big Ten champion, though. Your Indiana Hoosiers.
Yes.
We said this back in after the Illinois game that, hey, they put the country on notice here. This is not a fluke victory. You don't just accidentally beat a team 63-10. And while I did think Ohio State would win, hey, Indiana proved me wrong. But I think all along we said that this team was elite and a true title contender in the Big Ten, a true title contender now in the college football playoff.
And I think anybody that watched Indiana, Zach, they knew that. It's the people that didn't watch Indiana. It's the people that refused to turn on the TV and refused to tune in to see what Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers were up to. And those people are haters, and I've had choice words for them this week. But it's the idea that if you refuse to believe it, then I don't know what to tell you, because if you didn't believe it after year one, getting to the college football playoff and having the greatest season in Indiana football history, I get it. You can call it a one-hit wonder. You can call it a fluke, whatever. But then Curt Cignetti started out hot. You mentioned the Illinois win, which is the picture back behind me for those of you watching on YouTube. That was an historic moment. That's the biggest game Indiana's ever played at Memorial Stadium. They win that one 63-10. All right, that wasn't good enough for you. They go on the road to a top 5 Oregon team in Eugene, and they beat them by 10. Oh, okay, that wasn't good enough for you. How about we finish the regular season undefeated and cap off the greatest regular season Indiana football's ever had? Oh, that wasn't good enough? How about we beat Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country, the defending national champions, when everybody said you couldn't do it, and Indiana now has a Big Ten title, the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, and the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. If you don't believe now, you're never going to believe it. But if you're not with us now, I don't want you a part of this ride, because we're having an absolute blast in Bloomington, and Indiana is a legitimate football team, Zach.
I mean, Indiana's the number 1 seed. Let me get your thoughts on the game itself, the Big Ten championship. A little underwhelming from the outside. You know, I get different stakes. You know, Penn State's not in it, so they were looking for a head coach this whole time. But Ohio State and Indiana. Tell me about that perspective, because I thought the game was a little boring. It was 13-10. Missed field goals on both sides. You know, Indiana wins at the end of the day, but they did a great job of. I said the key to the game was going to be containing the offense, and well, you did. I mean, Julian Sayin did not look like the quarterback prospect that he's been all season. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, are they injured? Are they banged up? So be it. You still contained the best wide receiver duo in all of college football at the moment. And I thought this was going to be a game that it would open up a little bit and, have some points, because both offenses are really good. I mean, if you have a Heisman quarterback, it should be. So this being 13-10, Indiana locking up the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. Your thoughts there with that Big Ten championship game?
Well, I think it showed, right? Going into the game, Ohio State and Indiana were the top 2 defenses in college football statistically. Ohio State was 1 and Indiana was 2. That has flipped, I think, because Indiana proved that they are the best defense in college football, but Ohio State's really darn good too. And so that's the side of the ball that clearly shined in this game. Both quarterbacks had a pick early. You mentioned both teams having a field goal missed, including Ohio State's 27-yarder. That was just shank to the left, which, like, I feel for the kid, but I mean, big moments, you got to make big plays, right? And so the defenses are the thing that shined out. And look, Jeremiah Smith still got his yards. He just didn't get touchdowns, and Indiana didn't get beat for massive plays. I think he had 150-yard catch or 45-yard catch or whatever, but you still kept it in front of you. And that was the idea going into this game was, look, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, those guys are too good to hold down for 4 quarters. They're going to get their yards. Just don't get beat deep over and over and over again. And Indiana secondary did just that. And they did their job. Ohio State's running game was not what it has been with Bo Jackson. And Indiana sacked Julian Sayin 5 times. Zach, Julian Sayin was sacked 6 times all season. He was sacked.
Yeah, that was key.
Championship game. That is the biggest factor to me from that Indiana defensive front. They imposed their will on the Ohio State offensive line, and then Indiana's offense did enough. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't great, but you were able to run the ball a hair. Fernando Mendoza moved the ball around, and then at the end of the day, you go to your number 1 guy. You go to Elijah Surratt. You get the touchdown. You end up winning the football game, and Indiana celebrates the biggest night in program history. So, yeah, the game was boring for people watching from the outside, but in terms of Ohio State and Indiana fans, the game was awesome. The defenses shined, and both of those teams are just so freaking good. And I still think the 2 best teams in college football clearly above everybody else, and the 2 best teams who have the best odds to win the national championship coming up in just a couple of weeks in the college football playoff.
Is there any concern that maybe this Indiana team peaked? Okay, that this is the mountaintop. You won the Big Ten championship, the college football playoff. I know that they're going to say, hey, this is a big deal. We still have more to conquer. There's still more on the line. But I mean, this is a pretty massive jump for Indiana to go from the shambles that Tom Allen had it in to now a college football playoff appearance, and then being at the top of the mountain within the Big Ten. So I can subconsciously, I'd be concerned that Indiana could get complacent here.
And that's easy to think, and it's easy to say, and we've seen so many teams do that when they get to that level, especially someone like Indiana who's never been here before, and it's like, oh, wow, that was so great. Man, what a great time this is. And man, we're at the mountaintop, and it doesn't get any better than this, and then you're off for 3 weeks right before you play your next football game.
It'll sneak up on you, yeah.
It absolutely will. We saw what happened to teams last year in the college football playoff. But Curt Cignetti and his staff, I just refuse to believe that they let that happen because of the mindset that they have, because of the work ethic that they have. They've said it and they've shown it and they've proven it. That's what gives me confidence. Now, I can't say for sure that they won't act that way, but we'll just have to wait and see until they play either Alabama or Oklahoma in the college football playoff. But my confidence lies in Curt Cignetti. And until he gives me a reason not to believe in him, I'm not going to go against him. And I think Indiana will be just fine. I love both of their matchups, by the way, whether it's the Crimson Tide or the Sooners. I think Indiana is a much better team than either one of those, which is a crazy statement, but it's true. And I think Indiana will be just fine in terms of their rest, in terms of their focus, and their pursuit of a national title.
You know what actually benefits them here? The key is Curt Cignetti. He's done this at James Madison. They had to go through those extended college football playoffs. So he's been through the gauntlet. He was doing this at James Madison. This isn't actually new territory for him now at Indiana. So I'm glad that you brought that up. No, I don't think there's going to be a hangover here because Indiana's case is unique. It's not a one size fits all. They're the exception in this conversation. So, but like Curt Cignetti and Indiana putting the Big Ten on notice, I think Penn State just did that with their hiring of Matt Campbell. We're going to tell you why coming up next here on this Locked On Crossover. And this episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every single time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. You can give it to grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anybody who loves photos. You have endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app, and you can add personalized messages right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's open. And packaging, it comes gift ready, and there's no price tag, no wrapping needed. That's a huge win when you're busy this holiday season. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That is auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames do sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Curt Cignetti in Indiana did this 2 years ago. It's Penn State's turn. Yeah. Penn State can put the Big Ten on notice, has put the Big Ten on notice by hiring someone like Matt Campbell. I compare him easily to Curt Cignetti here. Jacob, feel free to push back. You might think differently here, but a coach that truly did more with less. And Iowa State, it's not a powerhouse in college football, yet consistently Matt Campbell had that program playing at a high level within the Big 12 that continues to move forward, and they kind of stayed put, but they were still getting maximized results. You give him the war chest now at Penn State, things are going to go really well. I think pretty quickly too for Matt Campbell and the Nittany Lions.
I think for me, and I'll speak for the Big Ten here, but obviously it's not everybody's opinion, but this is just what I've heard, and I'm definitely in this camp. I think it's a fine hire for Penn State. I don't think it was one of the big names we were hearing early on, right? It's not the splash. It's not the sexy hire. It may or may not, quote, win the press conference, all the things we hear this time of year, which I don't really buy into all of that anyways. Okay. But with Matt Campbell to Penn State, I think it's a fine hire. But I'm in the ideology, I think, of a lot of Big Ten fans too. It's just kind of wait and see. Could it work out? Yeah, absolutely. Dude, if you're winning games at Iowa State, a place that just doesn't have the resources that it takes and deserves to win in college football.
It's tough to recruit there, man. If you can get players to Ames, Iowa, you can get players to State College, Pennsylvania.
Exactly. And if you're able to win there, and right, he's a 60% winning percentage coach all time. He's got over 100 wins on his career. Like, the dude's a good coach. It just... I don't know. It just seems like it was so random. And we know that Penn State swung and missed on several big names. And I don't want to say they settled here, but they got somebody that they felt was good, but clearly was not at the top of their list. And so I'm kind of in wait and see mode. And I think the Big Ten is kind of that way too, because I haven't seen or heard, especially from the Indiana perspective, or maybe even the Ohio State or the Michigan perspective or the Oregon perspective. We're talking about the top teams in the Big Ten here. I haven't really heard any of the fans or people around those programs saying, "Ooh, man, that's scary for Penn State. That's a sneaky good hire." Haven't really heard any of those terms. Again, it absolutely could be that. And I think Matt Campbell's a really good coach. I just don't know how it's going to work at Penn State. I feel it could be a lateral move there for the Nittany Lions, but I'm in total wait and see mode before I give a full thought and opinion. If it works out, great. If not, then Penn State will be back here in a couple of years.
I'm a little disappointed, honestly, in you, because this was the exact same discourse that was around Curt Cignetti initially at Indiana, that he's overrated. He's not going to be able to hang with the big teams. Okay, they lost to Notre Dame in a road game in the college football playoff. Clearly, the lights are too bright. Cignetti doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head. This is a good, not a great program. And look at this is why Penn State made the move, because of programs like Indiana. So I thought you'd be able to relate to this a little more with the optimism that's local here. But from the outside, it's great to get a different kind of perspective to put, temper mine, so to speak. But I've loved that. Everything that's out there that's on the record at this point in time. They've already made key hires to get key assistants over to Penn State. They have a general manager in place with a guy that was basically doing all the heavy lifting when it came to Iowa State or lack thereof, when it came to NIL and everything else, working the transfer portal, evaluating talent. Again, they didn't have the leverage that they have now at Penn State. So I'm glad that guys and I'll name him Derek Hoosier. It's not spelled like Hoosier, but it sounds like Hoosier. Derek Hoosier, who's going to be that general manager for Penn State. He's been that talent evaluator that, he's just a player personnel guy. He's a key figure that Matt Campbell did not hesitate to bring over. They keep someone like Terry Smith, who I imagine his title at the time of this recording, his title's not definitive, but he'll be an assistant, associate, head coach caliber type. He'll work with the defense. He'll probably still work in the secondary a lot, okay, because that's his forte. But recruiting, being able to stabilize the program so that it's just not Iowa State 2.0 going into 2026. Right. So the idea is that you can merge the best that Penn State has to offer, the best that Matt Campbell has to offer, and the best that Iowa State can offer now with the transfer portal. And I think they can be good right out of the gate. I'm not predicting a national title in year one for Matt Campbell, but kind of like Curt Cignetti, hey, you surprise and sneak your way into the college football playoff, especially Jacob. Don't go look at that schedule for Penn State. It is as easy as it gets. It's basically USC.
Easy non-conference games. Wow, Penn State doing it again. Couldn't imagine playing easy non-conference games.
I love throwing stones in glass houses. It's my favorite. It's my favorite activity.
The walls have shattered around me. They are completely gone. But look, I think Penn State, weirdly enough, is this insensitive to say it was hard to make a bad hire at Penn State? Is it bad to say that? Like it was going to be difficult.
It's a nice compliment. It means that Penn State's that kind of program.
Because I think they are. I mean, even James Franklin proved that they are. He just couldn't ever get over the hump. But the dude was winning 9 and 10 games a season, right? And so Penn State finally moved on from that era of Penn State football, and they said, we want to find somebody that could take us to the next level, take us to that next step. And whether they believe Matt Campbell could do it, I guess we'll see. Clearly they did. But it was hard to go find somebody that the general public said, yeah, I just don't think that's going to work there, because Penn State is a good program. They have the funding, they have the facilities, they have the fan base, they have the brand, they have everything they need to be successful. They're just waiting on the next guy to come in and take them to that next step. And look, Curt Cignetti has made college football programs and coaches' lives miserable because he has set an unachievable goal, an unachievable line for new head coaches across the country. Think about all these coaches. We're going to talk about it in our final segment on today's show, about all these new coaches who are hired at P4 programs. Man, they hate Curt Cignetti because of his early success at Indiana. They hate him. I mean, because you have 3 years, if that, and they're expecting you to win and get to the playoff and things. And so, Zach, I do want to ask you, though, before we move on, how are the fans feeling? Is this they love it? They like the hire? Okay.
Everybody, there's, I think the baseline is the floor is cautious optimism. Like I haven't heard, there might be a fringe opinion out there that says it's Matt Campbell, it's at Iowa State, and so be it. Like that's gonna happen. There's gonna be people that just are pessimistic about this. But I've talked to people that don't follow the team, that do follow the team, that cover the team, that are diehard fans, that are casual fans, and it's just we all kind of see it the same right now. Is this is a great move. This is a move where he'll reestablish or change the culture to where it needs to be, because I thought James Franklin did establish a great culture, but Matt Campbell can take that a step further. He showed that he can evaluate talent and coach it at a high level. He's an X's and O's guy. He is a football guy. He's not a recruiter. He's not a marketer. He's an actual, that's what I really like, is that Penn State gets an actual football coach. And that's not to dismiss James Franklin, but he was very reliant on assistant coaches and coordinators, but he was great at building out the program as a CEO. You can do both in college football, but I think one avenue only gets you so far. And we saw that for 12 years with James Franklin, right? We have enough evidence. The sample size is large enough. With Matt Campbell now as an actual X's and O's guy, the product will speak for itself. I don't need to go out and market this daily. I'll let the actions speak louder than the words. That's what everyone's optimistic about here.
And I think you have to be proud of that, right? You got to be happy with that. And that's what Penn State fans need to do now. And that's what all fans across college football should do. Whether you like your new hire or not, whether you think he said the right things at the opening press conference, or he has the right, values, or is a winning coach, or whatever your opinions are, you can have those internally. but fans need to support new coaches. That's what Cignetti did. That's what Indiana did. They didn't have a choice because it literally couldn't have gotten worse here in Bloomington. But for you guys in Happy Valley, man, support Matt Campbell. Give him what he wants. Give him what he needs. Allow him to be successful. I think that's the biggest thing right now for all these new coaches who we're going to talk about coming up shortly.
Yeah, the Hoosiers lineman, Curt Cignetti built alignment. I think Matt Campbell is trending in that direction.
It's a great word. Yep, it's a great word.
Now, let's expand and go to the college football playoff as a whole. Oregon, Ohio State, your Indiana Hoosiers, plus the Big Ten's got a bit of a shakeup here. Pat Fitzgerald in at Michigan State, Matt Campbell obviously in at Penn State, Bob Chesney at UCLA. I like what I heard from Bob Chesney out in Los Angeles. So should Notre Dame be in the Big Ten? We got plenty to talk about next here on this Locked On Crossover. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines will adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. You can bet on the NFL. You can also bet on college football. Lines are available for both Penn State and Indiana. Penn State has actual game lines available currently as they're taking on the Clemson Tigers. Clemson is an early 3.5-point spread for that bowl game. So Penn State is an underdog in this one. Nittany Lions are plus 134 on the money line. If you're thinking Penn State for an upset here, Clemson's minus 162. The total is set at 48.5. Now, no game lines yet for Indiana as they do have a bye, but they do have lines for who will win the college football playoff championship game, plus 290. Plus 290 if you're thinking Indiana to win it all. If you like those lines, you can bet them over at FanDuel.com and the FanDuel app. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. That's FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. So now let's expand, talk more about the Big Ten comprehensively. But, hey, Indiana winning the Big Ten is a big deal. Penn State getting a new head coach is a big deal. Speaking of new head coaches, Bob Chesney to UCLA, Pat Fitzgerald to Michigan State. I guess that's the debate there because, I'm going to say that Matt Campbell is the best hire of the Big Ten coaching carousel. But between Bob Chesney and Pat Fitzgerald, it is tough to decide between the two of them. I think Pat Fitzgerald elevates Michigan State's floor a ton. I see them being at least an 8-win team year in and year out. And because I'm eager to see Fitzgerald, he's a great motivator, a leader of men. What can he do now at an institution that actually cares about football, right? That is able, right? I know Northwestern's an academic institution, there's a lot of restrictions there, right? They can't just bring anybody and everybody in to play for the football team. So it was severely limited. And I imagine that Fitzgerald, for better or for worse, does have a chip on his shoulder. So he's going to be extremely motivated. So I got to go with Fitzgerald in that debate. Bob Chesney, all the way, Pennsylvania guy originally. Okay, he's succeeded at every level. But James Madison immediately into the Big Ten, all the way out to Los Angeles. I think Chesney universally fits at just about any program for the most part. But that is a big jump to go from, you might get homesick real fast if you're Chesney.
Yeah, I want to personally apologize to James Madison, who is going to be a stepping stone probably forever now because of guys like Curt Cignetti, and that's a lot of those programs, and I don't want to go super deep on this, but those types of programs, that's the issue. That is one of the major problems we're having in college football right now is when James Madison does find the next great head coach or a Charlotte or a Jack State or whoever, right? When those programs find the next great up-and-coming coach, you can't keep them a secret for very long, and then they take off. A big program like Indiana comes in and takes Curt Cignetti. Then you find Bob Chesney 2 years later. Boom. Now he's at a P4 program in the Big Ten out of UCLA. It is what it is. It's the name of the game. But, yeah, I'm sorry for James Madison because you've now lost your second coach to the Big Ten. But I think it's a good hire for UCLA. I hope they give him what he needs, right? We were talking about that with Matt Campbell and Penn State. He will get it at Penn State. Will UCLA give it to Bob Chesney? I don't know. I don't know. That's the problem. I don't trust UCLA's administration. I don't trust their athletics department. I don't trust the part of the world that they're in, to be honest. I mean, it just, there's great talent in California, but man, that's a lot of travel to get back and forth to different places for recruiting and games and things like that. So can Chesney do it? Absolutely. I just don't trust UCLA. Fitzgerald to Michigan State is an incredible hire.
Love it.
That might be one of my favorites of the entire cycle, other than Will Stein, Oregon's offensive coordinator, going to Kentucky. That's an incredible hire for a kid that grew up going to Kentucky football games, and now he's the head coach of the Cats in the SEC after they finally moved on from Mark Stoops. Like, that's an incredible hire too. Obviously, that's somebody leaving the Big Ten to go to the SEC. But man, Fitzgerald was winning games at Northwestern, folks. Yep. If you can win games at Northwestern, you win games anywhere. And I like the way that I like the way you described it. Was, does he raise their ceiling at Michigan State by 10 wins and getting them to the college football playoff? Probably not. But he makes them better than a 4-5 win football team, which is what Michigan State should be. You bring them back to relevancy. You make them a competitor. You make them not a gimme game on schedules like Indiana and Penn State, where we don't even stress about the Spartans right now. And, you know, our buddy Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans has been in hell for years because the team is just not good. And so now you bring in Fitzgerald, who I agree, he absolutely makes them a competitor, not for a national title, probably not even for a Big Ten title, but you have to prepare for them differently now. They will be more physical than you. They will be more disciplined than you, more than likely, and you have to prepare for that. And I think that is an incredible hire for Michigan State.
I'll throw this as a, subtle jab here. I think Michigan should be worried a ton. Michigan has had a monopoly on the state of Michigan, and the reason Michigan and they struggled with Jim Harbaugh initially is because they never got that state on lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, because Michigan State was offering resistance. Mark D'Antoni was a great head coach and at least offered you some resistance. You didn't have any for the past few years because transfer portal, all this stuff they were trying. And Michigan State is going to return and focus on being a thorn in the side of the Wolverines. So
especially if they keep getting $400 million donations.
That helps.
That'll help. Yeah, that'll help.
That'll help a ton. Let's pivot to the college football playoff to wrap up, because Notre Dame should be in a conference. I think now here's the thing. I think they should have gotten into the college football playoff, but the optics of it, of not being in a conference, and then the ACC was conspiring against them, right? All this stuff. Look, and I also don't agree with them that they might lose their head coach. They're going to opt out of a bowl game. It's crazy, man, for Notre Dame. They're going through it after making the championship just a season ago. How the bigger they are, the harder they fall here, right? But Notre Dame should have been in the playoff, because I don't like Tulane and James Madison. It's great. It's a feel-good story, but find me one opponent on that schedule that would have beat any of the opponents on Notre Dame's schedule. And the thing that I've said about Notre Dame's schedule is the fact that they never had a cupcake game. Sure, okay, Syracuse was easy and Stanford was easy, but they weren't Marshall, Appalachian State, probably picking on the Sun Belt a lot. I don't know why. But they didn't play any group of 5 teams.
Right.
They never took a week off there. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. And then Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, well represented. Look what happens when you're in the Big Ten. You drop a game, you drop a couple of games, you can still get into the college football playoff because of the leverage of the optics. So Notre Dame should take a page out of that.
I think so. And the way I've described it this week is, for Notre Dame, they have refused to be a part of a major conference because they want to be by themselves. They want to be independent. They have their own TV deal with money with NBC. Like, they want all the benefits of being single, but now they're desperate to be in a relationship because of the benefits that they get with that. But you can't have it both ways, right? You're either single or you're in a relationship, but you can't have both, right? You can't be married to somebody and sleeping with someone else on the side. That's not really how that works, right? And so Notre Dame has to figure out what they want. What's important to them? Do they want to make college football playoffs and have a shoe in almost every single year if they win 10 games? Or do they want to have the TV deals by themselves and make the money and have to go and probably only have 1 loss or even be undefeated if they want to make it to the postseason? Because I agree, I don't think Tulane and James Madison are better than Notre Dame,
They're not.
but Notre Dame started 0-2. And when it came down to Miami and the Irish, it was pretty simple. There was literally a game to determine that. And so Notre Dame has only themselves to blame. And until they decide to do something about it, I'm not going to pay them any attention as they cry and pout in the corner. But for the college football playoff as itself, I think the committee got most of it right. I think Alabama not moving after losing the SEC championship game was fascinating.
It's kind of weird.
I think Texas A&M was a little low for me. Ole Miss a little high for me after losing their head coach Lane Kiffin going to LSU. But other than that, I mean, I think most of it was pretty good. I know there's a lot of people complaining about the playoff committee and things, but I mean, there still needs to be some ramifications and some changes and things to how it is done. But you know, for the most part, I think they mostly got it right.
All right, who's last man standing? This is what we'll finish up with because I'll give you a spicy take between Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. First team out is going to be Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State makes Indiana exposed what is wrong with this Ohio State team. They cannot run the football. They do not trust their backfield. And that's understandable because their transfers didn't hit. And Bo Jackson's just a true freshman. Now he will get better, but there is a clear blueprint to beating them. And I think Texas, either of Texas A&M or Miami has a favorable matchup against Ohio State. I think we're going to see Indiana and Oregon. So by proxy, one of them is going to lose there in the semifinal. Yeah. So someone, here's another one. Someone from the Big Ten is getting to the college football playoff championship.
I love it. I think the Big Ten wins another national title. I think we win our third in a row. My hot take is that Oregon will just absolutely destroy James Madison. That's not the hot take. They're 3 touchdown favorites. I think they lose to Texas Tech. I think the Red Raiders will bully Oregon when they play them. That'll be in the Orange Bowl. I think Oregon will just kind of sleepwalk through the James Madison game. I don't think they'll be ready. Texas Tech will out physical the Oregon Ducks. And I think Oregon's the first Big Ten team out of the college football playoff.
Well, it depends on who kicks off first, right? Because then we're both expecting them to lose on the same weekend. So
true.
But no coordinators, so it's definitely an uphill battle for the Oregon Ducks here. That's going to do it for this edition of a Locked On Crossover to talk all things Penn State, all things Indiana, all things Big Ten, as we do here weekly. Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers on the other side. My name is Zach Seyko, the host of Locked On Nittany Lions. Subscribe to both of our YouTube channels and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around all things Penn State and Indiana. Jacob, thanks so much for the time. It's always great to chat with you and get that Big Ten perspective.
Always appreciate the time, my friend.